January 17, 1942, Tokyo, Imperial Japanese Navy General Staff Headquarters. The room is warm, sealed tight against winter, but no one is comfortable. A charcoal brazier glows beneath the long table, its heat trapped by heavy uniforms and closed collars. Cigarette smoke hangs in layers beneath the ceiling lamps. Papers slide softly across polished wood as aides move with practiced silence. Somewhere outside, a bell rings. Inside, all eyes are fixed on a single folder being placed before the Admirals. Stamped in red ink. Chinese letter, top secret. Vice Admiral Shidru Fukudome adjusts his glasses and opens it. For weeks now, the mood in this building has bordered on triumph. Pearl Harbor had burned exactly as planned, battleships sunk at anchor, aircraft shredded on the ground, the American Pacific Fleet humiliated in a single morning. The planners here had spoken confidently, 6 months, perhaps a year, before the United States could even think about mounting a serious counteroffensive. America was rich, yes, but slow, divided, soft. That belief has carried the room ever since December 7th. Fukudome begins to read. Across the table, Captain Toshikazu Omi watches carefully. He was part of the war planning staff. He remembers the pre-war debates, the warnings, the doubts. He remembers Admiral Yamamoto's voice, low and restrained, insisting that a long war would be dangerous. But those concerns had faded beneath the thunder of success. The southern resource area was falling. The Philippines were collapsing. Singapore was already trembling. Victory had momentum. The report in Fukudome's hands is supposed to confirm it. Instead, the Admiral pauses. Just for a moment. You can almost feel it ripple through the room, the faintest hitch in the rhythm of certainty. He turns a page. The report is dry, clinical, numbers, dates, ship names, no drama, no adjectives, but buried inside those lines is something profoundly unsettling. Pearl Harbor salvage operations, ongoing. Battleships West Virginia, California, Nevada, raised, pumped dry under repair. Estimated return to service, months not years. A murmur moves through the staff officers. Someone shifts in his chair. The assumption, unspoken but universal, had been that the American battleships were gone, twisted metal, sunken symbols, that even if the United States possessed the industry to rebuild, time itself would be the great equalizer. But the Americans are not waiting. The report continues. Aircraft carrier repair timelines, Yorktown, Enterprise, Saratoga. Damage assessments revised downward, dry dock turnarounds measured in weeks. Weeks. Captain Omi feels his jaw tighten. The carriers had been the true prize at Pearl Harbor and the one thing they failed to destroy. Everyone in this room knows it. The American carriers were at sea that morning. By luck or fate, they had survived, and now, according to this report, they were not only operational. They were multiplying. Fukudome reaches the final section. Shipyard activity, West Coast, United States. Puget Sound, Mare Island, San Diego. New hulls laid down, keels placed at a pace that defies pre-war estimates. The numbers don't make sense. Destroyers launched in days. Cargo ships appearing in pairs. Steel flowing like water. This is not the America the planners had modeled. This is not a nation stunned into paralysis. The room grows quieter as Fukudome finishes reading. Someone clears his throat. Another officer, younger, speaks carefully. Perhaps the Americans are exaggerating their recovery for morale. No one answers him. Because the report doesn't come from American newspapers or radio broadcasts, it comes from Japanese intelligence officers, naval attachés, intercepted shipping data, yard capacity estimates, men trained to be pessimists. Across the room, an empty chair seems to draw attention. Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto is not present. He is at sea, commanding the combined fleet, pressing Japan's advantage across the Pacific. But his shadow lingers here more than ever. I fear all we have done, Yamamoto once said, is awaken a sleeping giant and fill him with a terrible resolve. At the time, many believed it was poetic caution. Now it sounds uncomfortably precise. Outside the building, Tokyo moves fully lit, fully confident. Newspapers speak of destiny and empire. The public imagines America as wounded, confused, struggling to understand what has happened. Inside this room, something else is beginning to take shape. A realization that the war Japan planned, sharp, decisive, overwhelming, is already slipping into something far larger. And far more dangerous. Because ships can be sunk. But what do you do when an enemy replaces them faster than you can destroy them? As aides gather the papers and the officers rise, the question remains unspoken. It follows them down the corridor. It lingers in the cold winter air outside. Thousands of miles away, across an ocean Japan thought it controlled, steel is being cut, rivets are being driven, hulls are sliding into the water. And for the first time since Pearl Harbor, the Imperial Japanese Navy is forced to confront a troubling possibility. They may have struck first. But they did not strike last. The folder doesn't close when the meeting ends. It travels. Copied, stamped, reassembled, it moves through layers of command like a quiet contagion. From staff offices in Tokyo to forward headquarters in Truk Lagoon, its contents follow the fleet. By February, fragments of the same data reach the desk of the man who had tried hardest to prevent this war from lasting too long. Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto reads alone. February 1942, aboard the battleship Yamato, Western Pacific. The Yamato cuts through calm seas, her massive hull displacing water with effortless authority. She is the largest battleship ever built, the embodiment of Japanese naval doctrine: decisive battle, overwhelming force, one crushing blow. Yamamoto stands in his cabin, jacket unbuttoned, the hum of engines vibrating faintly through the deck plates. He holds the report in both hands. It is thinner than he expected. That is what troubles him most. There is no panic in it, no alarmist language, just updated estimates, revised tables, production curves drawn with ruler-straight confidence. American shipbuilding output revised upward. Aircraft production accelerating beyond pre-war projections. Repair capacity distributed, redundant, resilient. Yamamoto exhales slowly through his nose. You can almost hear the unspoken calculation ticking in his mind. He had lived in the United States, studied at Harvard, walked American streets. He had seen the factories, the railways, the scale of it all. Before the war, he had told the cabinet that Japan could rampage unchecked for 6 months, perhaps a year, but beyond that, the outcome would depend not on bravery or tactics, but on arithmetic. And arithmetic, he knows, does not favor Japan. He flips to a page marked with a pencil slash. Pearl Harbor salvage progress. The Americans are not treating their sunken battleships as wrecks, they are treating them as engineering problems. Photos taken by reconnaissance aircraft show cranes towering over Ford Island, floating dry docks assembled like toys, men swarming over hulls that should have been written off. The West Virginia is upright, the Nevada is afloat, even the California, sunk in shallow water, is being coaxed back toward life. Each ship that rises is more than steel. It is proof of intent. Yamamoto sets the report down and stares at the bulkhead. In war college classrooms, officers speak of breaking the enemy's will. Pearl Harbor was meant to do that, to shock the United States into negotiation, to convince them the Pacific was too costly, too distant, too difficult to reclaim. But nothing in these pages suggests hesitation. Only motion. He turns to another section. West Coast shipyards expansion. The names blur together: Bremerton, Mare Island, Puget Sound, Los Angeles. Places that once produced ships at a respectable pace are now expanding around the clock. New slipways carved into coastline, civilian yards converted, assembly techniques borrowed from automobile factories. Sections built inland. Hull segments shipped by rail. Welded instead of riveted. Launch before the paint is dry. Yamamoto frowns. This is not how navies traditionally build fleets. This is how industries build commodities. And the most disturbing line of all is buried near the bottom. Estimated replacement rate exceeds Japanese sinking capacity. It should not exist. The Imperial Japanese Navy has planned every campaign around the assumption that American losses would matter, that every carrier sunk, every cruiser destroyed would tilt the balance closer to a final, decisive engagement, the kind Japan had trained for since Tsushima. But if the Americans can replace ships faster than Japan can destroy them, then every victory becomes temporary. Every battle only delays the inevitable. A knock at the door. Yamamoto looks up. Enter. Captain Minoru Genda steps inside, crisp and confident, the architect of Pearl Harbor itself. His eyes shine with momentum. Reports from the South Pacific are positive. Allied forces are reeling. The window to finish the war still feels open. Genda speaks with controlled enthusiasm. Admiral, the enemy remains disorganized. Their morale must be shattered. Yamamoto nods politely. Then he slides the report across the desk. Read this. Genda's smile fades as his eyes move down the page. The silence stretches. Outside, the Yamato's guns point skyward, enormous and unused, symbols of power built for a single, climactic duel, but the war described in these pages does not promise a duel. It promises endurance. Genda looks up slowly, if this is accurate. Yamamoto finishes the thought, then time is no longer our ally. The realization settles between them, heavy, unavoidable. The war Japan has unleashed cannot be ended by one more brilliant strike, or even two. The Americans are not preparing to recover. They are preparing to overwhelm. Far across the ocean, in places no Japanese bomber can yet reach, assembly lines are accelerating. Men who had never seen the Pacific are clocking in for double shifts. The sea itself is becoming crowded with hulls that did not exist months earlier. Yamamoto stands and walks to the porthole. The ocean stretches endlessly, calm and indifferent. He knows now what this war will demand. And he knows something else, something far more dangerous. If Japan does not force a decisive battle soon, the enemy's strength will grow beyond anything the combined fleet can match. The next move must be bold, desperate, unforgiving. Because soon, the numbers in these reports will stop being predictions and start becoming reality. The decision does not come with ceremony. There is no dramatic announcement, no raised voices, no pounding fists on polished tables. Instead, it arrives the way all dangerous ideas ensures its survival, quietly, wrapped in logic, framed as necessity. Late February 1942, Combined Fleet Headquarters. Maps cover the walls. Red pins mark Japanese advances like spreading embers, the Philippines, Malaya, the Dutch East Indies. Blue pins, fewer and scattered, represent American positions. They look fragile, isolated, deceptively weak. Yamamoto stands before them, hands clasped behind his back. He does not speak first. Staff officers outline the situation with precision. Fuel consumption, aircraft losses, pilot fatigue, carrier maintenance cycles, everything appears manageable if the war ends soon. And that is the hinge on which the entire strategy now turns. The Americans are building, Yamamoto says at last. The room stills. He gestures toward a chart recently added to the wall. It shows projected U.S. naval strength over time, not as a flat line but a rising curve, at first gentle, then steep, then terrifying. This, he continues, tapping the curve with a pointer, is our enemy. Not the fleet that exists today. The fleet that will exist tomorrow. You can almost hear the recalibration happening in the minds of the officers present. For decades, Japanese naval doctrine had revolved around attrition, whittle the enemy down as he crosses the Pacific, then destroy him in one decisive engagement near Japan. It had worked against Russia in 1905. But Russia had not been an industrial superpower. America is. Yamamoto turns to another map. Midway Atoll. A speck of coral in the Pacific but positioned like a knife between Hawaii and Japan's defensive perimeter. He explains calmly, seize Midway, lure the American carriers into battle, destroy them in one stroke. No carriers. No fleet. No time for the factories to matter. The plan is audacious, risky, almost reckless. It stretches Japanese logistics to their limit, but beneath the operational language there is a deeper truth driving it. This is not about territory. It is about time. Because every month that passes favors the United States. Every week allows another carrier hull to take shape, another air group to train, another shipyard to refine its impossible rhythm. The staff understands this. Some nod grimly. Others hesitate. What if the Americans do not come? One officer asks. Yamamoto meets his gaze. They must. He does not explain further. But everyone in the room knows why. The American psyche, bruised at Pearl Harbor, furious, impatient, will not allow Midway to fall without response. Their carriers will sortie, they will gamble, and when they do, Japan will be waiting. At least that is the hope. Across the Pacific, the Americans are also reading reports. Washington, D.C., March 1942. In a windowless room deep within the Navy Department, analysts pin updated charts to cork boards. Losses from Pearl Harbor are being crossed out and replaced with dates, dry dock schedules, expected completions. What cannot be repaired is replaced. The tone is not celebratory. It is methodical. Admiral Ernest King is blunt with his subordinates. "We are not catching up," he says, "we are overtaking." New construction orders are expanded again. Shipyard workers are exempted from the draft. Women are trained to weld, shifts stretch into the night beneath floodlights. The Pacific Fleet is not merely recovering, it is transforming. And the Japanese know it. Their intelligence reports grow more urgent, the curve steeper, the replacement rates more damning. Even victory in battle no longer promises safety, only delay. Yamamoto receives another update while at sea. Carrier hulls under construction, Essex class. Larger, faster, more aircraft, names that mean nothing yet but soon will. Essex. Bunker Hill. Yorktown again. The realization lands with a quiet finality. Japan is no longer racing toward victory. It is racing against a calendar it cannot stop. That understanding seeps downward through the fleet. Pilots briefed for future operations sense the urgency in their commanders' voices. Maintenance crews are pushed harder, training is compressed, risks once unthinkable become acceptable. Because there will not be a second chance. If Midway fails, if the American carriers survive, then the shipyard reports Yamamoto holds will no longer be projections. They will become an avalanche. As spring turns toward summer, the combined fleet sails east. Toward Midway. Toward the gamble born not of arrogance but of fear. And somewhere beyond the horizon, unseen and unmolested, American shipyards continue to work, laying down hulls for a future battle Japan is desperately trying to prevent.